Welcome to Banbury, Oxfordshire. In fact, we're within spitting distance of the iconic Banbury Cross. And we're very privileged today to have two of Labour's top candidates in the South East region to fight the European elections in 2014. And we have with us Annalisa Dodds and John Howarth. Now, Annalisa, just start us off by explaining briefly, if you can, how does this election work? It's proportional representation. What will people see on the ballot paper?
Yeah, so next year, next May the 22nd, people living here will have two votes. They'll be able to vote for local representatives, but they'll also be able to vote, as you said, for the European elections. When they look at the ballot paper for the European elections, they won't predominantly see different people, they'll see parties. So they'll be voting for a party. I hope they'll be voting Labour, but there will be lots of other parties on the ballot paper. Every vote does count. There are 10 members of the European Parliament for this region, the South East region. If 100% of people voted Labour, it'd be great if they did, we'd have 10 Labour MEPs.
Well, I think Ed Miliband's absolutely right to suggest that the idea of an in-out referendum trailed as far in advance by David Cameron is deeply destabilising to inward investment in this country, to the long-term plans of industry and to our competitiveness. However, if that in-out referendum comes about, I have absolute confidence that British people will vote with common sense to remain part of the European Union. And I, for one, am not afraid of the electorate on that. If a referendum comes about, we'll fight it hard, and we'll win. That there are many points at which we could have had referenda, and we could have given the British people a choice. Margaret Thatcher could have called a referendum on the Single European Act. She didn't. John Major could have called a referendum on the Maastricht Treaty. He didn't. When we next have treaty change, the Labour Party is committed to calling a referendum on that treaty change, whether that's in 2017 or whether that's in 2020 or whatever. But the key point here is that the Conservative agenda of seeking a renegotiation and calling that referendum is about denuding people's rights within Europe, and I see no reason why British citizens should be second-class citizens within the European Union.
It's particularly concerning that far-right solutions, as it were, to the financial crisis are anything but. And we see some of the people who've been hit the hardest by the financial crisis turning towards these parties when actually they would make the situation far, far worse. So I think it behoves parties like the Labour Party to listen to what people are saying on the doorstep and to answer their real concerns. I mean, one major problem we've had in Britain has been housing. Of course, people have often linked that to a growth in support to far-right parties like the BNP. Well, actually, Labour's now got a very strong position on housing. We're saying that we're going to build thousands more houses. We're going to have much more regulation so that landlords are actually held in check where they're not operating properly. So I think the response has to come from mainstream political parties like Labour. But we also have to expose when those parties are behaving in a way that's criminal, which of course, sadly, the British National Party has, and we've got BNP MEPs in the European Parliament representing this country.
What I'd like to talk to you about, John, is the fact that, or the impact of Angela Merkel, who has been re-elected as German Chancellor. I'm aware that she and Cameron are very keen on this concept of what they call flexible Europe. Now, my worry is flexible Europe means a reduction in workers' rights. How do you view that?
Well, flexible Europe can mean a lot of things, but one of the things it could mean, in the context of how the Tories view that, is a diminution of rights at work, but also rights in a whole number of other areas too. And I see no reason why British citizens at work or anywhere else should be second-class citizens to the rights of the German citizens or French citizens or Italian citizens.
I think the number one issue for many people at the moment, particularly young people, is unemployment. And even although Banbury has traditionally been an area with low unemployment, we're still seeing far too many young people being put on the scrap heap effectively because the economy isn't working. European Commission has put a lot of money into the European Youth Guarantee. This government isn't taking that up as a youth guarantee, which would mean that people got given a job or got given training. They're saying they don't want to have that guarantee operating. I think that's the wrong approach. So Labour is going to campaign to give young people some hope, give them a future, get them into education, training or a job, and that's a big priority for us.
Great. John?
following on from that, we have a huge job to do on the skills agenda in this country. Labour started that while it was in government, but there's still a lot of work to be done to complete that. We talked about 50% of the population perhaps going to university. I'm interested in what happens to the other 50% of the population too. And that means things like ensuring that apprenticeships and skills training are effective. And I think we've got a huge role to play on that. Housing, as Annalise said, we will speak if we have mandates from the whole of South East England for a view across the region. And therefore it's important that MEPs engage on issues that are normally regarded as domestic issues, because we give voice to Labour supporters in places where no one else can. And I think that MEPs have not covered themselves in glory at ensuring that we construct new structures that enable us to stay in touch. And we've managed to do that. I remember the days when Westminster MPs hardly visited their constituents, and that's gone. Members of the European Parliament need to employ new techniques, whether that be citizens panels, whether that be a network of people who are their ambassadors across South East England. But we need to change the way the game works, because what people deserve in the South East is effective representation. And one of the things that Conservative and UKIP MEPs have scantily delivered are any achievements at all for this region of the country.
Anything to add to that?
Yeah, just very, very quickly. My view is that actually MEPs should be based in the region, and I'm sure that's John's as well. We want to be visible to people here, and we want to be in contact with them. And some of the worst offenders, actually, when it comes to this, have been UKIP MEPs, because you don't see them around in the region a lot of time, but also they're not attending the core votes in the committees that they're meant to be doing as part of their job in Brussels. They're not doing either right. So consistent with fulfilling my Brussels responsibilities, I want to be in the region most of the time, and I'm sure John would as well.
And there we'll have to leave it. I just want to thank you very much indeed. Annalise Dodds and John Howard. Best of luck next year in 2014. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks very much.